Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the 808 podcast where I interview business owners, CEOs, and whoever else I feel like. It is 4 questions in 8 minutes and 8 seconds because 808 looks like Bob. And here we go. Question number 1 in a few sentences. Tell me who you are. What do you do?
I am JAHolmes. I have my own little consulting business called JAHolmes Consulting. I am an extrovert. I go by change agent, consultant. Organization development is the field I'm in, and it's this huge umbrella of things that could fit under that umbrella. But I mainly focus on leadership development, team development, as it relates to culture change and safety, behavior-based safety improvements. All those kind of tie together. And
Love it.
change is the big theme of all of it, that we're trying to go from here's where we are today, we want to be better. So change is the overarching theme of it all.
Awesome, Julie. Question number 2. What advice do you want to share? Go.
Wow, there's so much. Change happens to everybody all the time. You know, let's just say 2020, you'll have a bunch of people say that how much they went through, whether it was job loss, whether it was people lost, because of COVID. And where I apply it to work, is that, if somebody is noticing something is not quite right in their organization, I like to start at the leadership level. Say, what are you doing or not doing that, has created this? It isn't, let's go fix those people. We have to start at the leadership level first, which is where the first change takes place. Right? So working with leadership skills to help them improve how they interact, because leadership is all about relationships. They don't understand that. That's a huge change. Most people see themselves as managers and not necessarily leaders, but sometimes we use those terms synonymously and it doesn't work. They're two different things.
Right.
To be a leader, you have to build relationships, right? To be a manager, you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's and not necessarily always building relationships with people who you need to get your business to work, right?
Well, Julie, let me ask you a question. Give me an example of a leader you've worked with. You basically said, here's the change you need to make. And what was the success of that change?
I have a couple of great stories, but back in my past life, I was doing, we would do an initiative, we did a training, and then there's follow-up coaching afterwards. And sometimes people weren't always bought into having to do all this training, and we just have to get these employees to work better. And it's like, well, it starts with you. And some of my most consistent feedback in these one-on-one coaching sessions was to ask more questions than tell them what to do, because they do know their jobs, right? And communicate better, spend more time. And I swear to God, this was the best thing ever, because I said this to this particular supervisor, said, please ask more questions when you're doing like a safety briefing. They know what to do. Ask them what the hazards are of the day that they're going to be going out in.
Right.
The person wrote back a few weeks later saying, if I can quote them, this was what they said, this shit works.
We are allowed to say shit on this podcast. The only one we really can't say is the F-bomb. That's the only one. That one there.
He said, this shit works, because he said, I did what you said. I changed the way that I do my safety briefing in the morning. And I asked them questions. And this one particular person who I've kind of had sort of an antagonistic relationship with, I had the best conversation I had with that employee. And we talked for like 20 minutes. And it's like, my work's done. I didn't have to convince that person anymore, because they saw the result of trying something different. So that's a change. That's trying to take on a new skill. And once they saw that it worked, I didn't have to preach or coach or suggest or feedback anymore, because they got
perfect.
It. And that's where I like to spend most of my time. So so leaders, if you want to change in your organization, you have to start with yourselves or your leadership team first. Bring in either somebody from your HR department or an outside consultant such as myself, because you're looking at it with a fresh set of eyes. Right. And you can do an assessment of the culture. You can do an assessment of leadership skills and say, here's what's needed. Here's where we can improve and where coaching comes in. And it's, again, I'm thinking of this whole umbrella of change is overarching all of it. Right. Because we're trying to get from point A current to point B better, and it takes a little bit of help. It takes those steps, because if people could do it on their own, they would, and we wouldn't have any of these issues about why are things so grinchy with my employees? Why am I not reaching the return on investment and the profit that I want to make?
So really to sum it down is the easiest way to start doing that change is start asking more questions.
Ask more questions and relationship build.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the one of the exercises I used to do if I have another minute.
Actually, we gotta get to question number 3. We got that time there. So if they want to know more, they got to go look you up. So
Okay.
that part there. So let's get to question number 3. What other top CEOs, business owners, and influencers that you know that are successful like you that you would like to give a shout out to?
A business coach, Lynn Mayall, is a friend of mine. We've known each other for years, but she does one-on-one leadership coaching. Specifically, that's her niche. JAHolmes is another person involved with leadership, but he's got a process where they call it leadership conversations. So they get a group of people in the room and talk about leadership skill sets and how they've led. And then a friend of mine, Terry Fletcher, comes from the perspective of appreciative inquiry and diversity and inclusion work. So I would say if you want to have kind of different perspectives on leadership and how people improve their organizations, either one of those 3 would be great candidates to go talk to.
Perfect. I will look them up here. We got 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. Question number 4, Julie, tell me about your first sale.
It was lucky. I won't call it a fluke, but I had gotten laid off in 2015 from a great consulting job that I had. It was where I learned about behavior-based safety. And I had a number of clients who I built great relationships with. And one had said prior to my layoff, like, well, we want you to come back. I don't care whatever else you're doing. We want you to come back maybe twice a year, right? So when I let her know that I had gotten laid off, it took a couple of months for me to sort of get my head on straight. And I was talking to her in December. And she said, well, remember I said we wanted you to come back? And I said, yeah. She goes, we don't care who you work for, what you're doing. Are you set up to do your own business? And I said, no, but I could be.
Yeah.
So I did the work and got the steps done. I just been, a sole proprietor, business owner. And I got on their contractor list. So I was able to come back to a former client, to the ones that wanted me to come back. And after doing that one piece of work at her location, the other sites that I had worked with heard that I was available. So I was able to, get more work based on that. And that was where I did my team building
Nice.
work with their groups. So it was kind of easy. It didn't stay as consistent as that, but it's like that was my first sale. It's like if it's as easy as this, it's going to be fun. Well,
right. Yeah. It always is. Sometimes our first sale sometimes gives us unrealistic expectations there. So Julie, you've got 40 seconds left. Promo time. Ask me a question. Talk about the weather. Whatever. Go for it.
Promo time. Well, I am trying to focus now on people dealing with change because of the unrelenting change that all of us went through last year. And so this is the people side of change. This isn't change management and organization bringing in new computers. There's a lot that people go through and they don't necessarily understand that there is sort of a process to it. It isn't really linear, but there are things that you can plan on expecting as you're trying to go through, a change. Major losses happened last year. And it's traumatic and it's gut wrenching and it's emotional and they have to know that.
Oh, that is the time actually, Julie. We pulled it off there. So you did it. 4 questions in 8 minutes. Why is it 8 minutes and 8 seconds?
Because 808 looks like Bob. And
you nailed it there. You nailed it. Julie, say your website real quick.
www.JAHolmesconsulting.com.
In the description, it's magic. Julie, thank you so much for being on. Tip of the hat to you.
Thank you so much, Bob.
You are welcome. And for everyone else watching or listening, I'm legally required to tell you to like, share, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, whatever the heck the social media network tells you to do. You all have a wonderful day. Talk to you later. Bye.